Welcome back. Thank you for coming to watch some more chess. My apologies for waiting so long to get another video up. Hopefully I'm not too rusty. All right, we get the black pieces. Our opponent is decently rated. And I do have one victory over him or her. Okay, e4. Let's play our Sicilian. Let's go into our e6 Sicilian structures. He looks like he's going to give us an open. There are a lot of anti-Sicilians out there lately, but occasionally you do still get an open. He plays h3. I don't know why. That doesn't seem like a really great move right here. I'm in no danger of bringing any piece here yet. My knight may be in the future, but I don't get the point of that move. So I'm just going to continue with some development, bring my knight out, challenge the center a little bit. And again, this piece biting into that pawn. It has some usefulness there in some lines, but I'm unsure why the opponent did not just go for the open Sicilian out of this. This doesn't seem like a good try. Could be mistaken. I'm going to go with my queen, queen c7, Paulson ideas. Queen's very well placed on this diagonal. But is now the time? I think so. I do think so. It keeps this pawn from moving forward. I'm going to go queen c7. At this point, I'm kind of curious whether or not he's just going to go for a closed structure. He is. We're going to get a closed Sicilian structure. Okay. So, a couple problems to still solve. My king side's undeveloped, and my light square bishop is going to be a kind of a bad piece for a little while. So I can maybe choose to fianchetto it and attack king side. Or I can just go ahead and get a knight out there, get the knight developed. But is this the best place for the knight? Usually is. And bishop comes out to g5, attacking, and I don't know if I'm really worried about giving up that knight. I often like knight to e7 in these closed structures and then bringing the knight to g6, eyeing these squares. That's a pretty good place for the knight, and I think I'm going to go that route now rather than give him the opportunity to swap off the bishop for the knight. In the closed structures, the knights are generally more valuable, so I moved this without really thinking about white's next move. He can kick my queen, but I can drop it back here, just like in most Paulson lines. But now I'm going to go ahead and play a6 to prevent a piece from coming here. He does castle kingside. So now I am going to push b5 and bishop b7, fianchettoing. And piece is ready to kind of jump in here and attack kingside. at the right moment. Here's okay. A3, designed to keep my knight out of B4, also provides a little hidey hole for the bishop. But I think I'm okay. I'm just going to push B5 like my plan and get my bishop developed with a little bit of tempo on the enemy bishop. He doesn't go all the way back. That's interesting. It's very interesting. See any point in wasting any time? Just get my bishop developed. Opponent's playing really quickly. Um, I'm down to 12 and a half minutes. Opponent still has 14 and a half. That's okay. I'm doing well on time. Time management's okay. Now the last question is, where does this bishop go? I would prefer to just transport it right there to that square, but that's not, it's not going to happen. Okay, so the knight retreat. Knight back to E2 supports a central push. I think he already had a central push though. 1, 2 defenders, 2 attackers. Ooh, excuse me. Um, he just wants to relocate his knight over here to defend on the king side a little bit. One of the benefits of putting the knight here would have been like jumping into this square supported by this fishing pole idea would have opened the rook up. I like that idea. That's a very wonderful. That's a nice theme to play in these Paulson structures. But I have developed the knight here, um, and I don't have that option right now. So hmm. I suppose I probably just need to develop the bishop along this diagonal. Developing it here in front of the queen. Need prepare some trades on this square, but prevents this pawn from moving if I want to move it. I'd really love to have the bishop here, because that would be a wonderful square. Uh, Buying up that f2 weakness. Not really weak yet, but it could be later. But if I push, I'm going to sack a pawn. And open up the center. I'm just going to put my bishop there for now. Maybe keeping the knight out of this square at least. It might give me the option of trading off knights here. My bishop landing there after the knight takes. Hmm. Okay. You want to push f4? That's a lot of open air around the king. He's also got knight g4. So I suppose bishop here would have prevented that move. Something to keep in mind for the future if this pans out to be some sort of monstrous attack. But I don't think so at the moment. Down to 9 minutes. Opponent has 14. So plans. I can castle. Mm. And then I can push in the center. After I get some more support for that push. Moving this knight here or here. Trades, takes. Hmm. Castle queenside. That would be a lot of open air around my king. My pieces are kind of already aimed kingside. His are also aimed kingside. I suppose I should castle here. That's probably the most prudent. And f4. That was expected. I didn't spend a lot of time calculating response to it though. But now this diagonal's open, and I would really consider sacking a pawn, maybe. So if push takes, check. I mean, the check doesn't really give me anything. King goes to the corner. Um, it does weaken this pawn. Push takes. Attack the bishop. Open up this attack. Bishop drops back to defend. What about attacking the bishop immediately? Just move the knight, attack the bishop. Then push the pawn. I like that idea. We're going to attack the bishop because he wants to push here and force this and strengthen this bishop. But I'm going to seal that bishop off. And now I've gained dark square access. And the position starts to open up a little bit. So as the position changes, the dynamic opportunities change in pieces shift in value a bit. So as space opens up, these knights are not as valuable as they were. The bishops start to look a little more valuable. So I can take here or I can take here. And this central pawn looks a bit more valuable than this wing pawn. It's going to stay attacked here. He can take and I can take back. Material can be equal. He'll have a 3-on-1. but I'll have a 2-on-0 in the center. I think I'm gonna take here. So I've got two central pawns. And if he decides to take, he's going to have a 3-on-1 queen side. But he's got some king safety issues with these dark squares. And he's got the 3 pieces around the king right now to kind of defend. So he's not in dire straits yet, but it's starting to feel like he might get there if he's not careful. Okay, he attacks. He attacks the bishop. And then he's going to take here. Attack the queen, but that will lose. Will that lose to check? That won't lose to check, because check here, the bishop, the knight can come back to block. Um, Bring the bishop back here to defend. Takes, and pawns defended. Suppose we'll do that. Defend both of these points here. Okay, so in unbalanced position, I've got 2 central pawns for 2 wing pawns. White has some king safety issues with dark squares. So my dark square bishop is very valuable. I would imagine he wants to get on this diagonal as quickly as possible so that he can have some defense there. But he's also got to worry about the knight hopping in here and attacking this weak G pawn. So I don't know what I do if I'm, oh, well, he's going to antagonize my knight. He's going to kick my knight. Why? Just knight h4. That was already a plan. He'd kick it again, I suppose, but then he's got problems, I think. No, he can't kick it again. The queen's on that square. I don't understand what he does against this. Oh, here takes. Oh, maybe there's queen here with a threat of then pushing the pawn. Queen here. I don't have time to necessarily take here, I don't think, because then the pawn push, bishop takes, the bishop is hanging because the pawn's pinned. So what do I do against queen g4? Do I just take the pawn, attack the queen? I take it with a knight. Oh, he takes the pawn. Okay. Well then, we take back. Or do I take back towards the center and open the rooks? Open the F file with this bishop here. Okay, I'm going to take back towards the center. And if he wants to swap rooks, then that's one less defender around his exposed king. My king is a little bit exposed, but I've got a pawn on my weak diagonal, and he does not. And he's got this this threat on g2 that's. I'll see how he defends it with this open F file. White's in trouble here. These undeveloped pieces, weak dark squares. White really feels like they're in trouble because what's stopping bishop check and bishop takes g2. He may have to do something like bishop to e3 right now just to prevent the checks. I mean, that makes sense. That's probably his best move. And just sacrifice this pawn. But do I even need to take it? Can I go queen to g3? Queen g3, attacking the bishop, and checkmate. Queen e2, defending both. But then maybe bishop to d6, threatening mate here. Or at least an attacking idea. Maybe not mate, but an attack. That looks like an amazing attack, so I'm gonna do that. White is getting smothered. Not the smothered mate, but I have a swarm of pieces over here, and queen here or here looks like the only defense to defend the bishop and the mating threat. And I'm following up with bishop here, bishop d6, and where does the knight go? He comes here, and I just take it with check. He takes. I take attacking the queen. Queen moves back over here, assuming it's here. And then I take the pawn. Because if queen takes on e3 with check. White is in a lot of trouble here. It would have been very tempting. I mean, very tempting and understandable for me to just snatch that pawn up because it's a free pawn. It exposes the king, but this queen move adds so much more pressure to the position. I'm glad I found that. I think that is a better move. Mate and one threats are significant, not to be ignored, particularly when it's a double attack. The problem is the bishop was there, and this is a mate threat. And queen here looks like the only defense. And I think, I mean, I don't know. Either way, bishop d6 looks devastating. Well, opponent's taking some more time. I'm down to 3 minutes. I have used quite a bit of time this game, but doing overall good clock management. I've been playing some blitz games recently without increment just to work on time management. I don't get that added bonus, and 5 minutes flat is what I've been playing. And it's a different game when you have no increment to rely on. But I haven't been able to play many long time controls, 15 plus and stuff. And this is better for calculation. Um, I've missed it. Things have been very hectic lately. Lots going on in my personal life, and just haven't been able to focus as much on chess. I feel like I make that statement in the last. I have made that statement in the last several videos. All right, so he opts for queen to e2. Queen e2, bishop here, and I don't see how he stops it. I mean, he's going to have to sack some material to survive. Bishop d6 threatens mate. So how does he stop that? Bishop here. Then I just take it, and it's a free bishop. And resumes the mate threat. So I don't see why not. That's the best move. That has to be the best move. No, he just moves the knight. Of course he just moves the knight. But then I take I take the pawn with the bishop, threatening a discovered mate, or mating net at least, by just bringing the bishop back. And maybe I should have just taken the pawn immediately. Maybe bishop here was not necessary, but it does add pressure. I'll have to look at that. Maybe just taking the pawn immediately here and not dragging it out any longer. That might have been a better option, but my position's crushing here, so I think there's multiple paths to victory. All right, so he moved the knight, and now I believe, oh, the knight defends the bishop. Oh, well, the queen wasn't going to take anyway because the knight's here. Um, mm, knight and bishop back here, I take, perhaps. And then if queen takes, I can pin the queen to the king, and the queen can't leave the defense of the pawn. So I think there's multiple paths to victory here. So I'm going to take with the knight. I'm down under a minute now. I wish I would have. I got stuck on this move, and the knight coming out does help White's position, and I think taking the pawn before would have been better. In hindsight, I'll have to look at it, but I still feel like I'm overwhelming the White position here. These bishops, open F file, knight. I feel like I'm crushing this. Bishop back here. And maybe even pinning the bishop. Because if I take the bishop, he's got the option to take with the knight. Oh, and if he does, I just have a discovered check. So maybe just pinning the bishop now instead of taking, because that gives him the option to take with a rook, create another escape square for his king. Oh, let's pin the bishop. Now the threat's a discovered checkmate. "36 seconds." Suppose he could move the rook and try to create a running lane for his king. What do I do then? Oh, then I probably just take here. This discovery is going to be deadly. I think no matter what he does. he doesn't take, I just move the knight, and it's checkmate. King doesn't have any escapes. If he does take, I move the knight, and the king doesn't have any escapes. Uh, the queen can block if he does take, but that's met with mate. There's no escaping this. It's attacks the queen. Might be the best move, but I think taking it. Does he get out of it this way? The queen does protect this now, and there's no more king might be able to run to the corner. We're both in time pressure. Um, discovered attack. Oh, the bishop's still pinned. Okay, bishop's still pinned. Yeah, of course. That was got scared. I forgot where my pieces were. King to the corner is the only move. Queen here, check. King back. Knight here, check. And he's got to sack the queen. Ooh. So he's got to sack it. He's going to pick up my bishop, but that's the only move. I'll see how he gets out of it. Well, let's just take it. And that still, there's a double attack on the knight, so it resumes the threat. And I'm quite proud of this game, even though I think I'm going to win it on time. Oh, he's gonna give me some spite checks and draw my queen away. He's gonna lose his queen. I'm quite proud of this game. Whew. I'll take the rook and just get some pieces off the board, and I'll let him play it out if he wants to. But this is a pretty miserable position. A good game, friend. That was fun. I enjoyed that very much. So let's look at the game review. I did have the edge for a very long time, never really relinquished it after I got it. Very proud of that game. Looks like I had a miss on both sides, but nothing that chess.com calls a blunder. Also, no great moves and no brilliancies. It's just a very steady victory. So this Paulson Sicilian is one that I love playing and calls this move inaccurate. Um, I'm not sure what's better. All right, just challenge the center. Open up the center. That would have been difficult for me to play. Like blocking this bishop, I get it, but that opens the E file with an undeveloped king side. So I don't know. I'll have to look into that more. Computer saying that's best. Okay, liked that. It thinks that's a decent plan. Black has a slight edge. Black has a pawn edge here, even with this knight retreat, which I wasn't sure about why. I mean, yes, he wants to push f4. His pieces seem very uncoordinated here, and I don't know. I castled. He pushes f4, and he's created a lot of weaknesses around his king. Like this is a very ambitious. Oh, nice. So I was debating this move. I was wondering whether or not to push first. I'm glad I found that. Best move. Excellent. And now pushing is a mistake. I'm curious why. Is that a mistake? I suppose he can just push. He doesn't have to take. He can push and seal off the dark squares and remaneuver his bishop, work on pushing these, and just have this diagonal. What does it think is better? What's a better move? Let's retry that. So if not push, I mean, maybe centralizing a rook. Maybe. Or maybe pushing in the center. Because if takes. I mean, my king's not in the middle anymore. I'm opening up attacks towards the king. I think pushing to the center, maybe. It calls a blunder because he can push and seal things off himself. That's a blunder. I give up all of my advantage with that. And it wants me to push F, which would be another hard move to find with this bishop on my diagonal. But if rook takes, and G4 looks really exposing for white. Really, really exposing. That's a very double-edged game. Okay. We're gonna go to the next, oh, not next key position. So I pushed, he took, which was a miss. He should not have taken. Instead, he should have attacked my knight. Okay. That makes pretty good sense, rather than pushing here. Because it does kind of force me to take en passant, and he's left with a central pawn. And instead, I get to take the central pawn. And when I do, I'm up 2.0 on the eval war. I have one pawn. I mean, material is going to come out of this equal, but my position is, and now I'm up 3.4. My position out of this is just devastating because of this weakness along this diagonal, dark squares around the king, not enough defense. Another best move. It's a miss. And best move. Excellent. I love that I found that move. It was very tempting to just take the pawn. Let me check just out of curiosity. 7.2 right now, 7.2 advantage to black, and just taking the pawn would have been, saying 7.2 still, so it would have been just as good, really. But I like the queen move better. To the review. So the queen move was best. Defense. This move was also best. Okay. So my instincts were right. Piling up the pressure here was correct. But what about taking the pawn? It also calls that best. Like there's so many good moves here that it's very difficult for black to go wrong. So uh, lots of advantage, lots and lots of advantage to black. So piling up pressure was also just as good, although the eval bar said the other move had a little bit more of an edge. Knight takes. I lose a little advantage here, but it's just overwhelming. I don't know what's better here. Um, Maybe bishop takes, threatening the rook. Probably is. I already know the knight move, but instead I want to retry this and say bishop takes. And that's the better move because it attacks the rook. But knight takes is okay. And then this was I felt like that was a critical move. I felt that was necessary. What's the move instead? Do I just take the pawn? I just take the pawn here. He should have taken. Yeah. Okay, I just take the pawn apparently. I like that bishop move though. It's much more flashy. Flashy moves are not always the best, but I guess I am threatening, I'm threatening the queen and then I'm threatening mate. So I can see how taking the pawn was probably better. It just takes. And best move takes. And best move. And this was not the best move, but it gets the job done. So I unpin well, okay, I resume the mate threat here. Sack my knight, but I just take, And this is just a crushing advantage. I don't find the mate in 8, but well, maybe I do. No, I don't, but it's overwhelming. Overwhelming. Fun game. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to be producing a few more of these in the near future. I appreciate anybody sticking with me and viewing throughout these kind of like delays in posting. But yeah, come back and watch some more chess.